What's going on, guys? My name is Matt and I've built a lot of budget gaming PCs using old pre-builts like this Dell Optiplex, and in just about every one of those videos someone comments that they want to see me take one of these systems and upgrade it to the max, which is exactly what I'm doing in today's video. So just to be clear, I don't recommend anyone go out and do exactly this. This is just meant to be entertaining and show you the kind of performance you can get when you take an old pre-built like this one and stuff it full of as much hardware as you can. The name of the game in today's video is Overkill. I'm using the best CPU the system supports, max RAM, and a seriously powerful dedicated graphics card, which results in a system that can game at 1440p. Now, before I get any further, I want to give a big shout out and thanks to DiscountPC.com for sending out some of the hardware used in this video. They've got a large selection of refurbished computers, and you can check them out in the link in the description down below. So let's start by talking about the base system I used to upgrade. This is the Dell Optiplex 790, an LGA 1155 base system that started out with some pretty humble specs. I'm going to go over all the parts the system started with and talk about what I used to upgrade or replace them with. Let's start with the CPU. The system started out with an i3-2100, a dual-core 4-thread CPU that's okay for stuff like esports gaming, but I knew if I wanted to do some serious gaming, I would need to get something that was a big step up from this i3, so I went with the best CPU the system supports, the i7-2600, a 4-core hyper-threaded CPU that turbos up to 3.8 GHz. Now, don't get fooled by the CPU's age. Even though it is a 7-year-old CPU, these older i7s hold up surprisingly well to modern i7s in gaming. Don't believe me? Check out Hardware Canucks' video on the i7-2600K versus the 8700K, and you may be surprised how they perform relative to each other. Also, fun fact, this is the first i7 CPU I have ever owned, so I was pretty excited to see how it would perform. Moving on to the RAM, the system started out with 4GB of DDR3, which again is alright for very basic esports gaming. I knew I was going to need a big bump up. While adding one extra 4GB stick of DDR3 would have sufficed for most of our gaming needs, I again decided to max the system out by adding 3 extra 4GB sticks for a total of 16GB of RAM, which by today's standard is pretty much the max you're ever going to need for gaming. Though this RAM doesn't have any fancy heat spreaders or fast speeds, this kit is running in dual channel operation and works perfectly fine with this setup. Moving on to the graphics card, the system actually didn't come with one pre-installed and just relied on integrated graphics. Because of the drive cage at the front of the case, long GPUs will not fit without mods, so I decided to throw in the most powerful card I owned that would fit, and that is my Zotac GTX 1070 Ti Mini from my personal rig. This GPU again is pretty overkill, but as you'll see in the benchmarks, the i7-2600 holds up decently well with it. I really like this card as it's compact, quiet, and looks pretty nice in my opinion. A lot of people didn't like the 1070 Ti when it first came out, but I got it at a considerably cheaper price than a 1080, and so far I've been very happy with the purchase. Because I upgraded the CPU and am using a powerful dedicated graphics card, I needed to upgrade from the stock Dell power supply, which only supplies around 240 watts. Again, I went overkill and decided to throw in an 850 watt EVGA power supply with an 80+ bronze efficiency. This guy has a semi-modular design and mostly sleeve cables. I actually didn't end up using this and had to switch it out, but I'll explain what happened later in the video. Finally, for storage, most of these systems come with a mechanical hard drive, which is fine, but an overkill system like this needs an SSD, so I threw in a 250GB Samsung SSD as a boot drive and used the mechanical drive for mass storage. I would have went super overkill and put an NVMe drive in if the system would have supported it, but honestly for gaming you wouldn't have noticed any difference anyway. With this SSD, boot times are very fast and the system is much snappier because of it. In this video, I'm not going to go over step by step how to upgrade a system like this. I already have a tutorial about this, which I'll link in the description down below. Putting the system together was really simple. I switched out the CPU and applied new thermal paste. I installed the extra 3 sticks of RAM easily and popped the graphics card into place. The only two problems I ran into were with the SSD and the power supply. Clumsy me accidentally destroyed the hard drive caddy when trying to install the SSD, but it still works mostly as intended, and when trying to install the power supply, I realized the toolless side panel mechanism got in the way of installing a power supply as lengthy as the one I wanted to use. So I decided to switch it out for the power supply that I call Old Reliable, which is kind of ironic because it's not that old of a PSU. It's the EVGA 450BT, which goes on sale pretty frequently for around $25. It's rated for 450 watts at 80 plus bronze efficiency and has all black sleeve cables. I almost installed this guy upside down, but realized my mistake and flipped it over. With all the parts in, I loaded up and activated Windows using the included Windows 10 key on the case and was ready to play some games. For this system, I decided to test all these games at 1440p as 1080p didn't seem right for a system of this caliber. The 3 games I tested were PUBG, Fortnite, and Overwatch. These are games I test all the time, and I'm thinking of buying some new games to test in the future, so if you have any suggestions on games I should test, leave those suggestions in the comment section down below. So starting with PUBG at 1440p, high settings, the system managed to produce an average of 83 FPS, with it never dropping below 60, which is pretty good in my opinion for 1440p at high settings. Moving on to Overwatch at 1440p ultra settings, the system averaged 112 FPS, which is a great experience. You could definitely lower the settings to get closer to a 144 FPS average, but for me this both looked great and performed really well. Finally, Fortnite at 1440p, with these kind of pro settings, the system saw some big fluctuations in FPS. During regular matches, when people were spread out, I saw averages above 144 FPS, but when I was in a 50v50 match, I was seeing averages in the mid to upper 90s, which is still a really great experience, but definitely shows some of the CPU's shortcomings. Overall, the system performs really well, and it was really fun taking this Optiplex and upgrading it to the max. It's something that I've wanted to do for a while, and also something you guys have said you wanted me to do, so I'm happy I finally got around to it. I've got a lot of great content planned for the next few weeks, including some more stuff about old Xeons, but I'm always looking for new ideas, so if there's a topic you want to see me cover, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, again, thank you to Discount PC for sending out some of the parts used in this video. Their link will be in the description down below for you guys to check out. So yeah guys, I think this wraps this video up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up, as well as consider subscribing for more PC and tech related content in the future. And as always, this is Matt from Tech by Matt, signing out.